If you've not been humbled, that's going to be hard to do.
Well, it's a problem. Yeah, it's coming. If you haven't, it's coming.
you can rely on talent for
Yeah.
a while.
Yeah.
If you're so blessed. But I guess, and that's one of the reasons I love coaching football so much, or being a coach so much, is that I do think it's one of the things that you can get better with over time.
This is the Mental Mettle Podcast, where we explore how to forge mental toughness and resilience in every aspect of life. Welcome, I'm your host, Coach Matt Thomann. I'm an ICF certified professional coach with a background as a teacher, basketball coach, and athletic director. But my journey took a dramatic turn in 2020 when I survived both cancer and a stroke. Those experiences shaped my mission to help others grow stronger in every facet of life. Today, I work with athletes, coaches, educators, and anyone who believes that positive mental health is both achievable and a personal responsibility. This podcast is dedicated to helping listeners develop a positive version of toughness, one rooted in resilience, focus, and growth. Whether you're looking to excel on the field, in the classroom, or in life, this is your space to learn, grow, and take action. Join me on this journey, and together, let's forge your mettle. Welcome to Mental Mettle Coaching, where our mission is to help you learn to thrive in the face of adversity, not just survive it. We are passionate about empowering you to live, play, and work with a resilient and spirited mindset. Hi, I'm Matt Thomann. I'm an ICF professional coach and keynote speaker. My background as an athlete, basketball coach, teacher, and school administrator has equipped me with the insights that resonate deeply with the schools, teams, athletes, and coaches I work with. However, it's my personal journey through anxiety, cancer, and an ischemic stroke in 2020 that truly brings authenticity to my presentations. While learning to speak and write again, I also pursued and earned my ICF coaching certification. Now the practices I embrace are more than theoretical concepts. They're a way of life. Developing a positive mindset is within reach for all, but it requires self-awareness and the repetition of intentional activities. At Mental Mettle Coaching, we'll guide you, your staff, and your students on this transformative journey. Together, let's forge your mettle. All right, metalheads, it's 2026. Welcome. Thank you for joining me in another new year. If you're looking for a New Year's resolution, I actually talked about that last episode. Had a really fun conversation or something I think is so important, and that is how vulnerability needs to be your New Year's resolution. I did that last week. Go back and check that if you want to check it. And vulnerability a little bit is something we're going to talk about today with my guest. Today's episode is 136. If you're keeping track at home, that means that I run this. I put out the Mental Mettle Podcast every Monday. I have not skipped a Monday in however long it takes to get 136 weeks. So well over 2 years. If this is your first time checking out the podcast, I just go back and check some other podcasts, some episodes. I love them all, of course. It's my show, but there's some really good ones. Just look through and understand and try to figure out what you want to learn, what you want to get from it. You're probably, if you're coming on here because you're checking out the guest today, because you know it, my guest today, Adam Lewandowski at Andrews High School in Tinley Park, Illinois. If you're like, hey, I know this guy and I should check it out, know that he got introduced to me by a couple other guests that I've had on the podcast. So those would be good ones to go back and look at. Mike Cole, the head coach of Bradley Bourbonnais, and great friend of mine. We played college basketball together, and our sons play college basketball together now. That was episode 86. That was just a fantastic episode. Mike was a guy that I just love and just such good friends with. And I knew it was going to be a conversation, and it did not disappoint. He talked about mudita, the idea of helping others, of enjoying the success of others, not just yourself, and the way he puts that across his program and his athletic department at Bradley Bourbonnais. And it's just such a good episode. So he knows and coaches against Adam Lewandowski. And another one, the man that actually introduced me to my guest today, Adam Lewandowski, is Tony Holler. Tony Holler, if you know, you probably know Tony. If you don't know him, you've probably heard of his stuff, the Feed the Cats, which is the sprint-based workouts for track that Tony implemented and started having a lot of success in track, so much so that now that's his brand, that's his thing. He goes and speaks about it, does things, and he was so gracious to come on and to my podcast and talk about it. And he's given me some really good recommendations for podcast guests, including Adam Lewandowski, and how people use, he talks about sprint-based football, and so he knows a lot of the football coaches. So it's a great episode with Tony Holler, back 102. Check him out. That'll lead you down other rabbit holes for podcasts to check it out. But thank you so much for joining today, and thank you if you go and check out others. And as I always say, the gift you can give to me all the time is to like, share, and comment my stuff. Go onto YouTube, click that subscribe button. Really helps out my algorithm, helps others find the show. And I'm so excited about keeping the show going. I don't have any intentions of stopping it. In fact, I've got some really, really cool stuff coming up in 2026. I hesitate to say anything yet, but I've got a connection that is going to get me some just phenomenal guests that go beyond the world of basketball, football, baseball, and go beyond the world of my group here in my community and my network in what is mostly Illinois with some other surrounding states. But this is going to get the podcast a little bit more nationally represented and different sports. And I'm really excited about that. So keep in mind, keep checking it out, and trust me, it's coming, and I will make a big deal about it when it's coming, but just keep tuning in. But for now, let's do that. What I talked about, we're going to talk about a football coach that's in this network that I have, and it's Adam Lewandowski at Tinley Park, and just great episode. And we talk a lot about knowing your strengths, but also knowing your weaknesses, and how knowing your weakness is a strength, and just something I believe so much in. When I talk about when I go to schools and use my phrase 100% metal, which is the name of my program, when I go and do professional development, working with teams and all that, in that definition, it talks about knowing your strengths and your limitations, and how that is so important for growth of any kind. You have to be confident, know your strengths, but you also have to know your limitations, because that is where growth happens. If we never reach in to our limitations, we never get any better. We just stay the same. And then we don't lean on others, which is so important in the world of sports and in life. So we're going to talk about that today with Adam Lewandowski. Enjoy the episode, enjoy the interview, and I'll catch you on the other side. Coaches, do you dream of guiding mentally tough athletes towards a championship? Kids that are resilient, persistent, and unshaken by setbacks. Well, in today's world, those athletes aren't born. They have to be developed. Many athletes face significant challenges and risk burnout. So how do we foster that mental toughness without overwhelming them? Well, introducing the Ember to Inferno program, Building Mentally Tough Athletes. This series is designed specifically for coaches, offering a deep dive into your own journey of mental toughness and equipping you with practical tools to build confidence and belief in your athletes. Rather than just simply adding more adversity to their life, we focus on creating a strong foundation for mental resilience. You'll learn how to transform a spark of motivation into a blazing fire of toughness, using techniques that address challenges like social media pressures, athletic stress, and trauma. Don't just wish for mentally tough athletes, build them. Join the Ember to Inferno program today and ignite the potential in your athletes. For more information, contact me, Coach Thomann, at Mental Mettle Coaching. All right, welcome back to the Mental Mettle Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Matt Thomann. I'm here with my guest today, Adam Smith, or as he says, Adam Lewandowski, which is the Polish version, as he says it. And that's I love that idea, and that really tells me you are from Chicago, that area. That's a heavy Polish influence there. So, thank you so much, and your head coach at Tinley Park. Correct.
Andrew High School in Tinley Park.
Andrew. Yeah, gotcha.
There's also a Tinley Park High School here, so we're on opposite.
Different.
Yeah.
I got you. Okay. So let's start there, Adam. I always love to start the interview with some bona fides, right? So tell me, just give me, and you can go back as far as you want to. How about that? Whatever you think is pertinent to the conversation that shaped you into the man and the coach that you are right now. I want the version of that.
Okay. All right. Well, going as far back as I can, I guess it starts with God. He really has put this on my heart. I think as a very young person, as a young man. And then slowly that matures with you as you gain experience, and then you really kind of understand, oh, this is in fact my calling. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. I had some really, really fortunate circumstances playing ball young with great people around me, being in an area that really loved competition and playing sports. My parents and community that just rallied behind guys that did that. And so sports was something that I loved very, very early on. It was something that I gravitated to, and I thought I'd be playing for a long time. Fast forward to high school, I have some Hall of Fame coaches that I worked under that were amazing: John Wren, Tom Bailey, Steve Stanisek, among others, and learned a ton from them. And I didn't really quite understand it at the time, but I loved watching them work, and I was starting to pick up on the craft of coaching.
Mm-hmm.
As a kid, because nobody in my family was, an alumni of anywhere. We didn't really have a school that we rooted for. When I turned on the TV, I was looking at the coaches on the sideline.
Yeah,
I kind of found the schools that I liked based on the coaches and how they interact with the players and kind of their presence on the sideline. And so I think that was always a part of my nature, even though when I was young, I couldn't quite qualify that.
So who were you back in the day, turning on the tube? Who were you like enamored with coaching?
I loved Bo Schembechler. I loved Bobby Bowden and Lou Holtz. I thought those guys were all three very uniquely different, but you could tell that their players were really invested. You could tell that they were really a huge part of the game. Motivating, play calling, kind of captaining the sideline. I just really gravitated to those three programs. And I just love the way that those guys, did their thing. And it fit very well with kind of the people I was around too. Just a ton of passion, a lot of fire, but then also a lot of attention focused on craft work. You can tell that they really were professionals, and I just love those guys for that. And so I played at Homewood Flossmoor High School, and it was an amazing experience, both educationally and athletically. I was very fortunate enough to be on the only state championship team that the school produced in 1994. It was an amazing experience, and I thought I'd go on to play college ball, but my ego was a little bit too big, and I scoffed at some of the offers I received. And what became a huge regret for a long time actually turned into a huge motivator for me now with my players, making sure that we're looking at every opportunity and uncovering every stone that we can for the chance or the opportunity to get that next level experience.
Yeah, you mentioned that in your little write up here about you botched your own recruitment.
Yeah, definitely. I had some smaller schools that were very interested. All the way up to Eastern Illinois, which is Division I FCS, and I thought I was too good for that, which is obviously very stupid. But as we mature and we learn, we know how damaging ego can be to our decision making, or how limiting it can be to what we can truly obtain or achieve. And so that was a very expensive lesson that I learned from still to this day.
Yeah. Yeah, it's easy to do, right? You just like it's a fine line, because I work with athletes all the time, and we're like, you don't want to have an overinflated ego, but you need to have some confidence and believe in yourself. But where's that line between like believe in yourself, but then humble yourself enough to be like, I'm not too good to play at this place or in this situation. And it's a tough line.
For sure. Yeah. You have dreams and aspirations and goals, and then you have the reality, and if there's an opportunity, through guidance or luck / blessing, that you get a chance to maybe blur that edge between reality and achieving that goal, and you can kind of push into that gray area, I think that's even better. But, being able to work with young men now and help them achieve whatever those next steps are towards that dream or that goal, while keeping in mind the reality of their situation, that's really the nuance that I wish I had. But like I said, I was just too blinded by that. Actually, most recently, and Tony Holler turned me on to Steve Jones years ago with the book Twin Thieves.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with that. But
yeah.
That was an extraordinary examination of kind of understanding your ego and not shutting it out, but rather kind of controlling that and bringing your ego along for the ride that you're in control of. I thought that was a really awesome turning point. We talk about that a lot here within my coaching staff and also the players. That was an extraordinary kind of perspective change for me, for sure.
Yeah, no, it is. And to be able to think those sorts of things, you have to be thinking about those sort of things. And if you're not, you like, they will, because I don't know about it was you and I, so you graduated high school in what, 95?
Yeah. So I graduated in 96.
96. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're about the same age. And the point was, unless yours was different, you played on a state championship football team, so maybe it was different. But when I was growing up, we didn't really have those sorts of conversations with coaches.
Right. And
I don't know if it's like you, but I feel like that sort of thing really didn't we just didn't have those conversations, right?
No internet.
Well, there's that. Yeah.
Social media.
Yeah.
So I feel like the fortunate side of things now, because of those opportunities with internet, social media, is that you can really get more out there without even having the conversation. And then obviously you can have the conversation later. But yeah, things were very different for us back in the 90s.
Well, that's funny as you say that. It's such a double-edged sword, right? Like, the internet gives us access to all these things to help kids, to help athletes and help them grow. But the internet also causes more of the issues that we have to have these resources for. So it's such a double-edged sword, really.
That's true. Talking about that with my own kids now, who are high school age and younger, and my son especially, who's playing sports, it's really trying to cultivate that world so that it's something that is useful and not something that's damaging. Yeah, definitely not easy.
No, it's funny. I talk to coaches all the time, and they're like, they'll complain on one hand, and they say, man, kids are so soft, and kids this and kids that. I'm like, okay, but then how often do you say, I'm sure glad I didn't grow up like they did? And they're like, oh, every day. I'm like, well, then you can't have it both ways, right? We have to acknowledge the fact that they're growing up in a much different time, and then we can't just scoff at them for being soft or whatever. They grow up in a much more pressure. There's more pressure. There's more. It's just everything, and so we have to recognize that. We can't just, it's not their fault. We created it more than they did. We're the adults in the room, right?
True. It's kind of why I really gravitated to your podcast too, that talking specifically about mental toughness. I hear those same kind of conversations that circulate. And, what is the difference now to say, just the 90s for an example, mental toughness, and how much more of the things that they're dealing with nowadays, and how much more on the mental side, the emotional side, rather than just the physical.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a huge difference there. I would like the kids to be outside more and maybe exploring more in the real world than the digital world.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, I understand. I understand what they mean by that. It's maybe not articulated well because
I think as I see a picture of Teddy Roosevelt over your shoulder there, you're probably a big fan of one of my favorite quotes of Teddy is that comparison is the thief of joy.
Amen.
And that is that spells, I mean, Teddy Roosevelt did not have a Facebook account, but he understood. He understands that, and that's, or an Instagram is what the kids would have. But regardless, he understood that we can have our best day, but kids today can have their best day and then go home and jump on Instagram and be like, well, I thought I had a great day, but I guess I didn't because A, B, and C did better than I did. And that just kills everything. Yeah.
Oh, that's a great point. We talk about that a lot here, actually, just because of where we're located geographically. In terms of football, and kind of the shine that certain programs get, and rightfully so, versus maybe what we're earning. And it's really not about that. It's about what we're trying to do here, what you're trying to do, what this team is trying to do. That's really where the focus should remain.
Yeah, no, I agree. So I do this. I always jump in and ask questions as you're telling your story, but keep rolling on your coaching career and what you've done and where you're at.
So, like I said, I screwed up the playing opportunities. So I started off at Western Illinois and realized very quickly that I jumped into that decision because it was really the only remaining option I had left open. So I came home and reevaluated where I wanted to go to school. And by 1997, I had already started coaching because I knew I had this love and passion for it, but I needed an outlet. And so a family member of mine, my cousin, was coaching on the southeast side of Chicago in Hegewisch for the youth program, the Hegewisch Bulldogs. And that's where my family is from. So he asked me, since I was going to be home, if I wanted to help. I said, absolutely. And when I jumped in to help him out, I loved it right away. And I knew that this was definitely more than just passing time. So I did that a couple seasons. And then, bills and trying to get a career and schooling off the ground as I was paying for school myself at that point. I had to make ends meet. And I had to take a break from coaching. So I took about a 7-year break from coaching and realized that was far too long not to be coaching.
Well, it's as you said in your bio, you were oddly not motivated by money, but I get that. Like, I don't know that yes, when we watch TV, those coaches make millions, but the vast majority of coaches, they're not in it for the money. And even the ones that make millions of dollars, they spend a lot of time doing it, not making money.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah. So it's the Lord's work, or it can be, right? It really is. That's how I feel about it. Yeah,
absolutely. It was really something that was kind of, yes, I did think about it. Yes, I did want to do it. But from a spiritual side, I felt like it was really something that God had imprinted on me and really pressed into my soul that it was something I should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was married and had our first child by the time I came to that realization, and we discussed it, and I went back to school to earn my teaching degree and get those credentials so I could do it full time. We went into it just head first, and here I am now. It was a really hard road in the beginning, but I had some great opportunities, and I left the ego behind this time, and so it made the road a lot easier to travel. And that's kind of where I am now. There's a lot of details in between.
Yeah, I mean, you've told me. You're a high school coach now, but you've coached at other levels as well, and I'd kind of like dive into that a little bit.
Yeah. So I actually coached professional women's football for the WFA. I worked for Linda Boucher in the Chicago Force for 3 seasons, and because of that, I was asked to be the defensive coordinator for Team USA in 2013. So I coached internationally at the IFF games in Finland, and that was an amazing experience. That season begins essentially December, January, and goes through August. So I was doing that and then rolling right into the boys season on the high school level, and doing that for 3 years. I could have kept going probably, but not with a family.
It's hard. Yeah.
It's too much time away because at the professional level, you're traveling a lot. You're traveling by bus, by plane, kind of all over the country. And so my wife was amazing. My kids were amazing. They supported it wholeheartedly. But I did have to transition from doing both because it was a lot.
So let's give me some lessons you learned coaching women's professional football that have stuck with you for high school boys football.
So it was an amazing experience coaching the best female athletes in the country, both with the Chicago team and then also international. We have, several Olympic athletes that tried out for those teams, high level college athletes in various sports trying out for those teams and playing for us. And so learning how to work with that caliber of athlete was pivotal. That time is invaluable. You learn at a completely different level as a coach, both how to teach an athlete of that level, how to communicate with athletes that are, first of all, adults, and secondly, are as motivated and as passionate about the mission as you are, but at a completely different level. And so reporting to a team owner, having to answer and having accountability at the professional level is completely different. It was a very, very serious league. So I learned, I think, a bit of the business side of football. I learned a lot about budget management and logistics. And I learned a lot about what it means to get a job done and having to make some really hard decisions. I wasn't the head coach of that team, but I worked very closely with John Konecki, who was the head coach of that team. Excuse me. And just learned a tremendous amount about team management, team leadership, and how it all fits together. Obviously, at the high school level, it's not quite the same. The accountability is very different,
right?
But taking those lessons and bringing that to the high school game as a head coach were invaluable. The communication, the relationship building, accountability, how it all fits, and probably most importantly, how it translates to what the community feels, what the community buy-in is, and
which matters.
It's huge.
It matters. I've never understood that the coaches that like fight that, because that is like, they can be, it's an enormous asset to have the community on your side with things. Like it's the teams that I know that do it really well. It is like, it's unbelievably helpful.
Absolutely.
I've been one of the teams that I work with is Marola Forsyth, who's a 2A power, and that when you go down there, and I go down and I work with that team, and I show up, and just the things and I tell the guys that are there, I'm like, you guys don't understand, right? Like, you do not understand what the benefit you have with these people showing up and doing all these things for your program, and it's just a huge part. It's a huge benefit.
Absolutely. As we kind of go on down the road here in time, especially NILs and contracts, the professional contracts and college contracts, it makes me appreciate the purity of the high school game even more. Mm-hmm. And the community is part of that equation, huge part.
Yeah.
Especially around here. You're familiar with some of the programs here in Illinois. The people you've had on your program have had tremendous success. And so the community engagement, the community relationships are they're everything.
It's everything
to your high school team.
Yeah, it really is. One thing I want to go back about when you're talking about those women's professional team and you're talking about getting Olympic athletes in, it's really interesting because what that tells me is that you have women coming in to play football that were athletes, but maybe hadn't played football before.
Yes.
That is, I mean, that's interesting. Like, how do you mentally prepare somebody to play football just because they're an athlete doesn't necessarily make they know how to play football. How do you mentally prepare somebody for that and teach that? Because that's got to be interesting.
So that's a great question, and I'd like to kind of make some points here. So I coached at the youth level,
okay,
which means that you have to do a lot of real step one basics.
Absolutely.
Right? I coach here at Andrew High School in Tinley Park, where we have a lot of kids that join our football program as freshmen that have never played before.
Right.
Not to mention, I actually have varsity players that come in and have never played football before. So in between these 2 points of history, coaching youth and then coaching here with players that have never played, in the middle of that timeline is the Chicago Force, where female professional athletes are coming in who have never played. And so what I took from youth into that experience was how to train the basics at a very, very low level, but with the intention of getting to a very high level. So that was a great platform for me to use that muscle and to refine that skill and develop that skill as a coach. And then during that time, because they were such high caliber athletes and they're just these brilliant minds. I mean, we had doctors and attorneys and business owners, right? So they're these high functioning, high caliber, dedicated, passionate people I'm teaching basics to. They grab it, they run with it, and become outstanding football players. So I have that experience, and then I bring that back down to Andrew, where I know now how to quickly develop an athlete who has never played before, get to a level where they can be successful on the field. So that arc has been really like such a valuable lesson for me, because I go back through all of those experiences and I grab stuff from different players that I remember either as youth or in WFA or one of my other teams. But coaching the women how to play football was really, really easy. Coaching a professional women athlete was a huge learning experience for me. But being on a team where, you're saying something once and the athlete remembers that for eternity was really very different, and an amazing treat as a teacher, as a coach, because you're only always building. There was very little review that had to be done.
Yeah.
So I try to train my athletes now much like I had the experience then, because it was there was like a magnetism to learning and to applying everything learned to the field. It was awesome.
Well, and it's interesting you told me that about like that you have successful people that decide to come and play a new sport for the first time and pick it up really well. And I think that it speaks to the fact that they are successful at one thing and then they're successful at something else. It like you have to be able to remove your ego a little bit and be vulnerable and be coachable for that to happen. Right. And that's so important. And I think it gets skipped so much. Like that's what we're talking about when we want a kid to be coachable, is to recognize I don't know everything, which is hard to get a high school kid not to realize sometimes.
Amen to that. I talk about that with my coaches actually a lot. I don't necessarily want experts on staff where that might help, obvious, in many areas. What I want is I want people that are coachable, that are conscientious, and that are willing to be creative and find solutions for X, Y, and Z. What game plan, problems, issues, things of that nature. And what that allows is a ton of, obviously, creativity, but a lot of teamwork. It allows for a lot of teamwork to develop and to be a cohesive unit. If you have a lot of egos, that doesn't really work out well.
Yeah, it's funny. It's the same thing we're talking about before, is like you want a coach to be able to be confident in what they know and what they can do, but also pliable enough to say, let's try something else. And it's the same thing we were talking about with your recruiting. Like we got to be confident in our abilities. And it's funny you said that in your what mental toughness is. It's like you have to recognize your limitations and your strengths both. And it's, again, I think that's a real skill to be able to do both.
I agree. If you've not been humbled, that's going to be hard to do.
Well, it's a problem. Yeah, it's coming. If you haven't, it's coming.
you can rely on talent for a while.
Yeah.
If you're so blessed. But I guess, and that's one of the reasons I love coaching football so much, or being a coach so much, is that I do think it's one of the things that you can get better with over time.
Your athlete probably spends hours working on the specific skill set they need for their sport. And they probably spend hours in the weight room building their body. But how much time do they spend intentionally training their mind? Well, building mindset is the key to bridging the gap between the skills that we see and game execution. Well, Mental Mettle Coaching provides individual programs that can help your athlete develop this third and crucial skill set.
Mm-hmm. You can do this for decades and decades and get better at it if you so choose, if you're putting in the work. If you know your limitations, if you know what your abilities are, your strengths. And I think you asked me what mental toughness was, and knowing those things and deciding to go forward anyway.
Yeah.
That's to me, that's how I've come to define that. Maybe it'll change over time, but for me right now, that's where I'm at, is knowing my limitations, knowing the few things that I'm good at, and then trying to get really good people around me to help get forward. And that's really what it's been about for me.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that, and getting people around you, and you mentioned Jocko and the way you handle what a phenomenal book, and just the way he does so much. But
absolutely,
I learned a lot reading his stuff about leadership, and I really liked it's when we talk about credibility, like to have somebody like Jocko in the military talking about how leadership is not all top down. It's you know what I mean? He talks about it at every level.
Yes.
And I just talked about that, how you do that in your coaching, because I think it's a really good lesson.
So I kind of what I've talked about already is pulling from a lot of different things, which I think is a normal part of the learning process for us as adults. But with Jocko's book and decentralized command is the focal point of extreme ownership. Taking that and putting that into practice, yes, that is great. But you really have to have the right people on board.
Yes.
To adopt that, and because it's one thing, and you've alluded to this before. Theory is one thing, practice is another.
Yeah.
And I can say after 10 years as a head coach, finally having the right mix of people involved, the right people on the bus, the right people in the boat, however you want to describe it, then continually using that decentralized command model, it works far better. It's far more efficient. Now, obviously, I always have final say, or veto power, as it were. But when I asked my coaches about this per your questionnaire before this podcast, what's one thing that you would say? And decentralized command was the thing, or ownership over our roles was another way somebody else put it. And so that's why I mentioned that earlier, because they being my coaches, my managers, my players, the leadership team, they really do own their role in our mission. And it's obvious if you're here, and I think it's a huge part of our success. Now, one of the things we talk about, just talking about success real quick, is one measure of success is wins versus losses. That's an obvious one, and some teams in the state are undefeated, and that's a tremendous amount of success. And you can't achieve that without all the little things. For us, as a program, we've had some really big wins. We've accomplished a lot of things statistically in different categories that are huge successes for us. just so happens we play in the best public school conference in the state. So we have a lot of just bloody battles here, Mike Cole being one of them. But the reason we've been so successful at the high quality of our program year in and year out is the decentralized command of our leadership and the ownership that the players, the managers, and the coaches all have, and they've adopted it pretty strongly. And we take great pride in it, and I'm certainly very proud of that. I love this team. I love this program so much, and I think as I grow older in this thing, watching those pieces kind of mature and come to fruition are easily the things that make me happiest, to make me most happy.
Yeah. So when you talk about that decentralized command, and you mentioned your assistants, your managers, your players, they all felt you felt like that they all own their role in your mission.
Yes.
And I think that is a great segue into when we talk about mentality and mental toughness. I feel like feeling like they are a part of something and have some ownership, and then believing in the mission. Just the question is, what role do you think that plays in their mentality and mental toughness when it comes time to play?
That's a great question. I like that question a lot. I think it has a lot to do with when we're delivering a message, a game plan, some sort of a directive. Because they're bought in, they're going to hear that stuff clearly, and it's going to resonate more clearly the first time. And then from there, any kind of pitfalls, any kind of stumbles, any kind of challenges, that's going to replay in their mind first. And because of the ownership and because the messaging that we have is very consistent, I think those two things have a synergistic value that now they apply that to the next step after the challenge, after the fall, after the failure. And because of that, they know intrinsically, oh, this is what it's about. This is what it means to overcome adversity, because we've talked about it. We've had lessons on it. It's been reinforced so many times. The coaches, myself, for instance, I'll admit my failures. I'll admit where I was wrong. And I own up to that as an example. It's all works in concert together. So at a halftime speech, for instance, it's not a whole lot of screaming, yelling, trying to motivate. It's kind of a refresher course on what the mission is, and then talking about the things that need to go better the second half. And that's really kind of the messaging over and over again. Well, okay, that's behind us now. It was good, bad, or otherwise. What do we need to do to improve that or to make it more a consistent practice?
What do I need to control now?
Right now.
I mean, ultimately, that's the only thing we can do, right?
Yeah. We talk
everything else gives us anxiety or fear, right? What can I control right now?
Right. At our last leadership meeting, we talked about past, present, and future, and how the present just ended, and it just ended again, and it just ended again.
Yeah.
So if you're always focused on the here and now and doing your best right now, that's number one, all you can hope for. And
that's it.
It'll make the next here and now better.
I agree, and that's it. But we say this. It's great to say on a podcast. We know it's so hard to do. You got a kid that fumbles on 4th and 1. You're going for it, and he fumbles, and it like you have to be able to get that. You still need that kid the rest of the game or the rest of the season. We have to get that kid out of that. I just failed. I just let everybody down, because he loves his team and he wants to do his job, because he has that ownership. But we have to get him out of that.
That happened to us in our playoff game, round 1 this year, actually, between an assistant coach and a player. He had a great relationship with the player, and the player made a mistake in the game. It was pretty costly. He's kind of getting on the player, and I walked up and I said, "Now remember, he's got to go back out there."
Yeah.
So, and the coach said, "You're right. I got it. I'm on it." He does a quick pivot and he goes and he builds him back up, and then the player goes out and performs. But you still spent that moment. And so then that becomes part of the evaluation for the next year. Okay, now remember, on game day, it's all performative, and we need them to execute. So
Yeah.
let's remember this. But it all becomes part of the system, right? And that was a very valuable lesson for me as a head coach, because I didn't talk to him specifically about that before the game, and I should have. I owned that to him, and then he owned it in the moment and afterwards, and then the player did as well. So that's, it's a fully integrated sense of accountability there. Unfortunate as it was, because you always want to be perfect. But going forward into the 26th season, that's going to be something that is going to be on top of mind right away.
It's so like the idea that, and I have conversations with coaches about this all the time. They're like, well, we have to continually get on them and tell them what they're doing wrong. And I'm like, a little bit, I guess, but they know. They know, right? It's so much more useful for us to talk about what we're trying to do and what we need to do next. The human brain is going to find out what we did wrong on its own. It just is. And
Absolutely.
And I think that it's more a coach's job to build into the positivity and do that, because that's how we move forward. That's how we move forward, period.
Yeah. Not being reactionary to the moment.
Yeah.
Remembering your craft, remembering that you probably should have seen that coming, and in that moment, what will you say? I think as a coach, as you mature, you learn to ask more questions. A guy drops a ball, he comes off the sideline. You're not going to tell him, "Hey, you got to catch the ball." He knows that.
He's got it. Thanks, coach.
But
Parents, is your athlete ready for the upcoming sports season? They might have the strength, the speed, and the skills, but without confidence, they could still struggle when the game is online. Skill and strength are great. They're necessary, but they're not used to their full potential without the right mentality. Confidence is key. It's the key to unlocking that full potential. And at Mental Mettle Coaching, I offer personalized sessions designed to build the confidence your athlete needs for a successful season. My proven techniques empower them to perform under pressure, both on the field and in life. Don't let a lack of confidence hold them back. Book a free session today and discover the power of confidence. Visit the website, get started on the journey to a more confident, successful athlete with Mental Mettle Coaching.
Instead of saying you got to catch that ball, it's more, you ask a question. So what happened? Did you lose sight of the pass? Did something obstruct your field of vision? And they can give you an answer, and immediately they're part of that process now, and then you can move on.
Yeah.
But just saying catch the ball or block somebody, like somebody from the stands, that's never going to be. It's never going to be a useful bit of information.
No, it's not. It's not. So you keep mentioning the mission, and they got to know their mission. What can you accurately describe that to me? Like, what's your mission?
From the coaching staff, what we're trying to do is we're trying to make champions on and off the field. And so the fulcrum of that is the relationship that you build with the players in your position group and then the team as a whole. The coaching staff is a team within the team, obviously, so they're part of that. And what we want is the best possible experiences, not necessarily the outcome. We feel like if you're trying to win every rep at practice, you're trying to win every rep in the classroom, you're taking out the garbage without being asked at home. If you're doing all those little things, the outcome will take care of itself. So what we want to do is we want to have and provide the best possible experiences that we can. And we feel like the outcome will take care of itself. Building champions on and off the field both gives us the view of what it means to continue to develop these young men to be great husbands, fathers, community members, leaders, but then also let's not lose sight of the fact that we want to win football games, we want to win conference titles, we want to win a state championship, because we know that those positive outcomes build on each other, and they start to snowball, and it's only better for the next guys that are coming up. So by doing that, you're also doing for the younger guys. It's not just for us.
What are some And I love that. I just love that on and off. And it's man, it's funny when we do these things, and it's easy to say, like, winning and losing is the goal, but it's a secondary goal. It's not, it happens when you do everything else right, not just by focusing on that. And that gets us into problems. So what's, and you've kind of talked about this, but I just want to know if there's any specifics, like when we talk about developing that third skill set, that mental skill set, that mental toughness, are there things that you practice, that you put in your system, in your program, that you're like, we do these things intentionally to help develop mental toughness? Are there things you put in on purpose to help you do that and reach that mission of champions on and off the field?
So there are several things. Obviously, you have different competition segments in practice. That's kind of the easiest low bearing fruit that you can have. And you talk about creating game type environment, game type experiences for that. So it's a direct application. So that's kind of the on field piece. We also do as much charitable work as we can off the field, where we partner with the VFW in the community. Feeding My Starving Children, trying to help people as much as we possibly can. We talk about that a lot. That's very much part of it, that personal development piece of reaching out and helping somebody else, not to put on social media, not to be noticed for, not to take credit for, but to kind of do that behind the scenes. And so we talk about that a lot. One of the ways that we talk about that is in the hallways. If you're a football player in the hallway, you don't look down at your phone. You're walking intentionally. You're present in the moment as much as humanly possible, and you should be looking for people to help. So there's people in need all the time. Maybe somebody needs a hello. Maybe somebody needs a hand up. Maybe somebody's carrying something heavy. Maybe somebody needs a door held. Those are the things that we're talking about. So it's kind of going back to like very original basics, but in this digital world to kind of piece
back. We need that. We need to go back to those basics, right?
So we talk about a lot of those kind of tangible things that you could do, just daily basis stuff, and doing for others rather than yourself. We talk about that a lot. We talk about the warrior mindset a lot, which a good friend of mine who's since passed, Bill Smith, that I worked with, the Chicago Force, just really taught me in a way that I've never forgotten, and I bring with me every day, is that you take great care of yourself, your loved ones in your family, and your community, wherever you are. And that's really the true essence of a warrior. And so we talk about that a lot. These are all kind of our pillars that we hit on all year long, every single year. And a lot of those lend to everyday practices that are being carried out.
Yeah.
Beyond that, we have a leadership committee, and we talk a lot about that very intentionally. And then the leaders then bring that to the rest of the team. Yeah. So it's kind of an integrated chain of top leadership down to player leadership and out. Yeah. And then it's also everybody doing the small, tangible, bigger than yourself kind of things throughout each day. That's what we're hoping to do, is cast a real wide net of this example of how to be mentally tough in a way that is putting yourself second and putting somebody else first, even though it might be hard, even though it might not be what you planned. And we talk about that a lot.
And it's not necessarily big things, just little things, right?
It's
that's
the little things. The big things are going to come. If you can't master the little things, though, that the big things come along and they're going to overwhelm you.
I agree.
We choose to focus on the little things instead.
Yeah, I agree. Well, it's every big thing is actually made up of a bunch of little things. Yeah.
Do you mind if I turn my light back on? This
Go for it.
Has a mind of
I see that. I didn't know if that means we have to be done. Yeah, coach, it's every time I work with, it's like when some coach is doing it in his room, you never know. People are going to come in, the announcements are going to go. It's pretty normal.
So perfect example, right? 10 years ago, I would have been very frustrated that my lights were out during this, because I want to make sure that I'm providing the best possible version of myself. So what I did was I put a sign on the door, do not disturb, podcast in session. And I had everything else set up, and sure enough, the lights go off on the road.
The lights go out. Yeah.
But instead of letting that derail anything, I just take it as it comes.
No, I know. I know it's a little bit of a maturity thing that you get when you get older, but the goal is to help kids learn that sooner, right? Which is what we're trying to do.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
So it's the last question I always ask, Coach, is what did I not ask you that I should have? And then that means that you can't complain if we didn't talk about it. And it's a fun question. It's actually become a question my wife and I ask every time we go anywhere. Like we're sitting down, if you're buying a car or doing something that it's like you ask the salesman, what did I not ask that shift? You'd be surprised at the information you get. But regardless, what's the thing we didn't talk about that we should have?
Oh boy, that's I like that. That's good. I'm going to use that. Well, I'm very fortunate. I'm very blessed to be able to do what I do every day, to teach here and to coach here in this community. Very, very blessed to have a healthy family. And since giving my life to Christ in 2005, he's done nothing but abundantly bless me and give me the opportunities to keep going and pursue this passion and this dream and this calling that I have. And so I'm so thankful to him for that, to my wife, Amy, for being an amazing partner along the way. She's a total football wife and mom, and her family and my family are too. So I'm really, really lucky and fortunate. But I guess the one thing is here's a question. How do you, in the Chicagoland area, continue to retain your players when recruitment is such a heavy part of the game? And so I'd like to answer that question. And
I would love to hear it.
And we just had a major shift in the IHSA here today. The votes came in and they're expanding.
I saw that.
I wasn't I didn't have a huge opinion on it. I thought nothing should change. I thought we had a great system going. I thought it maintained a really, really high value, but I'm not complaining. If you want to be the best, you have to beat the best. And so the teams that are winning, they deserve it. They do an awesome job. Those programs are phenomenal. But to say that it's an easy thing to do is something I wanted to kind of address, because I think the people in this community, the Bobcats program, the Bulldogs program, the Oak Forest Raiders program, the kids that have never played that want to play, I love them all. I'm so thankful to be here with them. I think they're what makes this community so special and so great. And when they come here to Andrew High School, they're going to have an amazing experience, and they're going to be able to earn an opportunity to put their best self out there for everybody to see and to prove to themselves that they belong. And so I just wanted to say to all of them out there, I love you and God bless you. And I'm so glad I get to do this with you.
I love it. You asked your own question, and I already knew what your answer was going to be because you'd already answered it, because it was going to be it was community, right? And that is, I think, in the day of NIL, but and then now expanding the playoffs and people moving even high schools and things like that, and since COVID, because kids just decide I don't have to play sports if I don't want to, because like that has changed. I don't judge a program by wins and losses. I judge it by numbers and the kids that want to be in there, because that is like, if the kids are knocking on the door to get in that program, I know that coach is doing something right and the wins will come. And that's, I have no doubt that that's going to keep happening with you the way you're running your program, Coach. So
really
best of luck to you. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So it's been just an absolute pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for joining me. And we will keep in touch, Coach.
I sure hope so. Thank you so much. And I learned a lot here today, and I thank you so much for the opportunity. I really do appreciate it. I hope you have an awesome Christmas and a happy New Year, and God bless you guys.
Same to you, Coach. Thank you.
Take care.
Coaches, do you dream of guiding mentally tough athletes towards a championship? Kids that are resilient, persistent, and unshaken by setbacks. Well, in today's world, those athletes aren't born. They have to be developed. Many athletes face significant challenges and risk burnout. So how do we foster that mental toughness without overwhelming them? Well, introducing the Ember to Inferno program, Building Mentally Tough Athletes. This series is designed specifically for coaches, offering a deep dive into your own journey of mental toughness and equipping you with practical tools to build confidence and belief in your athletes. Rather than just simply adding more adversity to their life, we focus on creating a strong foundation for mental resilience. You'll learn how to transform a spark of motivation into a blazing fire of toughness, using techniques that address challenges like social media pressures, athletic stress, and trauma. Don't just wish for mentally tough athletes, build them. Join the Ember to Inferno program today and ignite the potential in your athletes. For more information, contact me, Coach Thomann, at Mental Mettle Coaching. So as I mentioned before we started the interview, I saw in a lot of the interviews some of the stuff that I talk about in my professional development series and my coaching series that I do, and that 100% Mettle is, and I describe it as this, is the ability to recognize your strengths and limitations in adversity while embracing repetition of positive actions that demonstrate growth and change. So it's not an accident or not a mistake that I really enjoy talking to Adam Lewandowski, because I hear a lot of that in his coaching, in the way that I try to do things and do the mental performance coaching that I do. And just that it's so important, and it is such a fine line. Like, how do you be uber confident in yourself and that confidence level that we need to have in ourselves, but then also recognize that we're not perfect and we have limitations. And it is tricky, because too far one way and we get arrogant and conceited and we don't listen to anybody, and too far the other way and we think we can't do anything. And it speaks to why it is such a battle and why it has to be so constant in our minds, and something that we work on purpose, and just trying to work on, because as it says, it's in adversity. So you can do this stuff in a vacuum. Well, you can try to do this stuff in a vacuum, but it doesn't matter. Like, it's noticing our strengths and our weaknesses in the face of adversity that matter. And that's when the cracks are going to show up. And that's whenever we find if we're going one way or the other way too much. And you have to be very purposeful about recognizing it and doing, as I talk about, the repetition of these positive actions. So all these things that coaches work on with the athletes and their team, that's what that's about. Is we can sit and have a conversation about, you need to be good people and you need to help others and you need to own up to your mistakes and you need to do these things. We can have this conversation, but if we're not practicing that and repeating it in practice and in our daily life, and it's not something that we work on purpose, it doesn't matter. It's out of the vacuum. It's in the real world that this stuff matters. And I love that he sees it from multiple perspectives, that he sees, and he's worked with athletes at the pro level and now at the high school, and he sees how, the transferable skills that come from business to one sport to the next sport, they're very transferable. They are. So if you have mental toughness in business and you keep working and you keep grinding, it's going to help you in athletics, and vice versa. And if you do it in one athletic endeavor, you can do it in another athletic endeavor. It's why it's so important, and it's why, as a parent, as a player, you should want to play for a coach. And there's plenty of them out there. But there's also plenty that don't. But you should want to be playing for a guy like Coach Lewandowski, because he understands that it's so much more than football. And I know that we keep saying that it's so much more than football, so much more than basketball, but it absolutely is. And you have to make sure that that's not just white noise, or that's not just a mantra, something we say. That's like, it's a thing. It's a real thing that we have to be working on. And like, if you see a kid or you see an athlete or a coach and you're like, man, how they are using this and how they're applying are reacting to this athletic adversity. What if that was life? Like, how would we view that? And I kind of feel that in a lot of ways, all the way up to watching a coach yell at an official. It's like, what if we did that outside of a gym or outside of a football field? Would that be acceptable? Would that be okay? And it's like, no, it's not at all. And so we have to take lessons like that and start to see how do they apply and how can we work and how can we use them, and not only see it, but how do we train it? How do we work on it? And that's how we do in these repetitions. And there's just so many connections that I could talk about it all day, but I'm not going to, because if you want to hear me talk about it all day, you can go to my YouTube channel and just hit it on repeat, because there's a lot on there where I just saying the same thing in different ways with different coaches and different athletes saying the same thing. It's just, it has to be something you're working on. You have to be working on that third skill set. You have to be working on the mental just as much, if not more, than the physical and on the game skills. It's more transferable, and it's better for life and has long-term impacts. This working on the mental aspects and being really intentional with, in this case, knowing what your strengths are, know what your limitations are, and leaning into both and using it for growth and for success, both. It's so useful. So great episode. Thank you for joining me. As always, like, share, follow, subscribe. Please help me out. Hit those buttons. It takes you no time, but it really helps me out, and I really appreciate it. So until next time, thanks for joining me. This has been the Mental Mettle Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Matt Thomann, and always remember to forge your metal. Thanks for listening to the Mental Mettle Podcast. Don't forget to tune in every week for more insights and strategies to help you forge mental toughness and resilience. This podcast is brought to you by Mental Mettle Coaching, where we are driven by a passion for sharing knowledge and experience that empowers others to play, live, and grow with confidence. Our mission is to instill a resilient and spirited mindset in our clients, enabling them to confidently face adversity and actively seek new challenges for personal growth. At Mental Mettle Coaching, we offer individual coaching, group coaching, and professional development for schools and businesses. Whether you're an athlete, educator, or professional, we're here to help you unlock your potential and thrive in every area of life. Until next time, keep growing, stay resilient, and always remember to forge your metal.